Hello and welcome to another episode of the Music Rabbit Hole. I'm your humble host, the Music Bus Driver. On today's musical journey, doing something a little different today as I start bringing content back to y'all here in 2023. Long hiatus, not going to really get into it, but I'm back for the time being, as we're going to try to move into a new studio and things like that later this year and bring you more videos. So I am back, and for this one, it is going to be a special edition, a game called King of the Hill Music Year Edition. Here's how it's going to work. I am on a quest to figure out what the best year in music is. And so I'm going to do some of these battles. It's going to be King of the Hill style for those who are not familiar. Basically, I'm going to do a battle, a year versus a year. The better year wins. Now that better year faces another year. And basically you keep going until at the end of things there is one King of the Hill. So we're going to do 90s to start off this contest. Obviously there's some tremendous music that was put out in the 2000s as well, and obviously pre-90s. But I want to start in the 20th century, right? 20th is in the 1900s. Yes, okay. I think I got that right. I always mix that up. So we're going to start with 1999 versus 1998. It's as simple as that. I want you to share your thoughts on this debate in the comments below. I've taken some polls on my own personal Instagram as well, but I want to get as much opinion out there as possible as we determine what year deserves to win. So we're going to start with the year 1999. Let's go through this a little bit. And I put together some playlists. I'll link to that in the description. It's some of the best songs from 1999. And I'm not going to play any music on this video because I don't want it to be claimed by, especially with the types of artists that are on this. But let's go through this, and you can go listen to some of these on the playlist that I'll link in the description. So 1999, we will start with the album Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Not their first album or anything like that. I believe it was maybe their third or fourth, but one of the more well-known Chili Pepper albums with some absolute bangers on it. If you check out this album as a whole, you've got Other Side. Everybody knows that. Scar Tissue is an absolute classic. Californication. So you've got three or four, Road Tripping, a solid track as well. You got three or four absolute smash hits in that kind of funk, rock era. Huge one right there. That's one of the top albums of that year. Of course, 2001, Dr. Dre. You all know Still Dre. I mean, look at that. 1 billion streams on Still Dre on Spotify. You've got Eminem on this album. You've got features with Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, shout out. You've got, just some absolute smash hits on this one. And this is this the no, this is the original. I thought it might have been a special edition. Mary J. Blige on here too. This is known for, being probably Dr. Dre's best work here from a music perspective. Especially when you look at his discography, there's really no competition. 2001, one of his best, and always is in the conversation for, like, we're talking best rap albums, not number one or anything like that, but I would say it's definitely in the top 50, maybe even top 30 best rap albums of all time. Still Dre, Forgot About Dre, two classics, that one. And then speaking of Eminem, the Slim Shady LP, a huge record that really got Eminem out there. My Name Is, Guilty Conscience is a big one off this one. Role Model. This is actually still, I don't know, some people's feelings on Eminem have wavered over the years, but I will say this is still pretty listenable, the Slim Shady LP. Besides the major hits that everybody knows, there's some solid art on this album. So I would definitely give this a listen too. So you've got obviously one of the biggest names in rap in Eminem and one of the early works there. You've got Dre. You've got Red Hot Chili Peppers. Not all three normally in the same conversation. And then you've got one of the best kind of punk rock bands of all time, obviously, in Blink and Enema of the State. This is 35 minutes of just absolute smash hits. What's My Age Again? You know that. Adam's Song, that's my favorite Blink song of all time. All the Small Things. So you've got 3 or 4 bangers on this one. You've got of course, the nurse with the gloves. I mean, that is a very memorable album cover, probably one of the top 100 album covers of all time. I'm just throwing out like lists, and people are probably like, "What are you talking about? Top 100?" I would put it up there as far as a recognizable album cover. So it's definitely got to be in the mix. And then you've got so you've got punk rock covered. You've got some great hip hop albums. You've got solid rock funk type record there. MF Doom, one of the most underrated rappers of all time. This Operation Doomsday is a work of art as well. This is the complete album, so it's got all the skits, it's got instrumental versions and things like that. So this version on Spotify is 2 hours and 17 minutes. I don't think everyone's listening to that, but I will say Operation Doomsday, that is a fantastic kind of. Some people still have MF Doom as kind of like an underground guy. I mean, not everybody listens to his work. Obviously, rest in peace. But that is a tremendous album. That coming out that year is kind of a stealthy absolute hit in there too. Most Def Black on Both Sides with Miss Fat Booty and things like that. This is another really, really strong hip hop record. Sold, definitely over 1 million copies. So you've got a lot of really good hip hop in the mix. You can't discount Nas. I mean, Nas always has some fantastic albums. I Am not necessarily one of his best known. Obviously, Illmatic and It Was Written. Those are more of the well known records. But I Am is still pretty solid. It still has a couple really nice hits. Obviously, this one with Diddy, Hate Me Now. And then we move into the pop category. Britney Spears, Baby One More Time. Iconic. I mean, that's an iconic pop singer record with of course the main song, Hit Me Baby One More Time. And then the rest of the album, I will say, is like when you think of this record, and I think where it might kind of hurt a little bit is, unless you're a diehard Britney fan, it's like, do you really know? Can you really name, Thinking About You by Britney Spears or Email My Heart? Like the back half of this record, I would say, is not super memorable, but I think just Baby One More Time and Sometimes, those, especially Baby One More Time, like that really launching kind of her career in that kind of teeny bopper type era, that's big there. And then I'll just kind of run through some of these. Jimmy Eat World with Clarity, Jay-Z Volume 3, Counting Crows, who's one of my favorite bands, This Desert Life with Hanging Around and Colorblind. There's some really solid records there. You cannot discount The Roots, Things Fall Apart. You've got kind of a posthumous album there from Biggie, Born Again. I wouldn't necessarily throw it up there as one of the big heavy hitters of that era. As far as the album itself, especially when it comes to Biggie, there's so much better records to listen to. Then you've got Foo Fighters, There's Nothing Left to Lose. I mean, this is when they were still kind of under the radar a little bit in their discography. If you take a look, Nothing Left to Lose was one of the wasn't their earliest one, because the earliest one was a self-titled, but you had this was their third record, so they're coming off of the color and the shape, which is fantastic. It has Monkey Wrench and things like that, and then they had this one. So still a solid Foo Fighters record there. You've got one of the early pioneers of kind of emo and American football, the Flaming Lips. This is a very underrated record. The Soft Bulletin, Destiny's Child. I mean, we're talking pop. The Writings on the Wall, Destiny Child. I mean, look at the 4 songs that are featured in the playlist by them. Say My Name, things like that. 9 Inch Nails, Wilco, DMX with Party Up. I mean, that's obviously your Backstreet Boys, Millennium. Christina Aguilera's self-titled record there with one of her smash hits, Genie in a Bottle. And then you got some of the smaller ones like Sugar Ray. I mean, that's kind of radio-friendly stuff. TLC's No Scrubs came out that year. And then, of course, you can't discount Phil Collins and the Tarzan soundtrack. So if I had to put, like, let's just say the 5 best of that year to go against the 5 best of the other year we're going to show today in 98, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dre's, Eminem with Slim Shady LP, Blink 182, and then you kind of have your choice there. You could say MF Doom, you could say Mos Def, you could say Britney. We'll just throw Britney in the mix just to no, we'll put MF Doom in the mix. So you've got those 5, I'd say, representing that tier. That the really solid 3 of Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dr. Dre, and Eminem. That is obviously a pretty strong group there. So that's 99. Let's move over to 1998 here. And there's some heavy hitters here too, I will say. Of course, you've got, this is one of the best hip-hop records of all time, and The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Just a classic coming out there, 16 songs, an hour, 17 minutes of just some tremendous kind of soul, hip-hop, all this different avenues there. And if you haven't listened to that, which I feel like everyone has at this point, I mean, that's a top 50 record right there. So you got, that is a big name to have in the mix. The rest of the albums on here, you've got Outkast, Aquamini. Everybody knows Rosa Parks, that song. Sometimes some of the other ones may not be as well known, but Outkast, anytime you've got an Outkast song or an album coming out in that year, it's gonna definitely help. Beastie Boys, Hello Nasty, that is obviously for fans of the Beastie Boys, and even in general in hip hop lore and things like that, obviously the Beastie Boys are thought of quite fondly, so you can't discount them. The other big ones, but you notice with a lot of these albums, especially on this, and I know I'm the one who made the playlist, but some of these albums, there's not a big collection, like 3 or 4 smash hits compared to when you look at Blink and Californication and things like that from 99. Neutral Milk Hotel, this is more of just like, hey, if for those kind of indie rock fans out there, In the Airplane Over the Sea, this is a tremendous record. You have, and then you have Black Star, which this Mos Def and Talib Kweli album is another, I'd say, top 100 hip-hop record. You got Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl. That's got some of those radio smashes that you can remember. Slide, Black Balloon, Iris, Fatboy Slim, for sure, in that electronic type music realm. You got Korn. Everybody loves Korn. Jay-Z with Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. That's got a couple really solid ones in there. I mean, DMX, anytime you have Rough Riders Anthem in your year, that helps out. Semisonic's got some good ones there, REM. But you can already tell this Offspring Americana album is great. It's got some hits there. Brandy, Pearl Jam, Metallica's got some. But yeah, I mean, you can already tell if we're talking putting up 98 versus 99, Lauryn Hill can only get you so far compared to what we're seeing in that 99 year with some of these classics. This is a very, very good record I'd put up against probably the other records there in 99, but everything else here, it's not that these aren't great artists. You got to love Gangstar and Outkast, but the albums themselves, if you look at them as complete works, I just don't know if they really hold up against the other side of things here. I mean, Goo Goo Dolls, yeah, these are absolute radio smashes, but does this Dizzy Up the Girl album really kind of stand the test of time? Is it really looked at as an important piece of work in the history of music? I would argue probably not. So it's not like DMX and Jay-Z didn't put out good stuff in this year, but I think as a whole, if you look through this, I think 99 has to take this battle here. Hey, Faith Hill, This Kiss, that's a classic. So I think I will hand the crown for round 1 of King of the Hill Music Year Edition to the year 1999. Congratulations to you, as now you are, as I mentioned, King of the Hill. So we'll see who can dethrone them. I'll be kind of dropping these videos every now and then as we try to uncover who is going to unseat 99 and who at the end of this thing. I mean, I want to go through all the 90s. I want to go through the 80s, the 70s, maybe even pop back up to the 2000s. I really, truly want to uncover what the best year of music was. And 1999, your current champ. That about does it for this special episode of the Music Rabbit Hole. I will see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Continue subscribing, liking, commenting to the podcast, as well as the to the YouTube video, as well as the podcast version. I will see you all next time. This has been another episode of The Music Rabbit Hole.